Okay, well, welcome everyone to a really fascinating, and I'm putting that word in there, fascinating talk tonight with Neil Gaur. Now, before I tell you anything about him, I have to tell you the one thing I just learned about him, which I thought, I was like, what? Who does that? Anyways, he's not only a really cool science researcher, finder out about everything, but he raps in Egypt. I mean, like, he's a rapper, he does things. So anyways, that was just one fun tidbit I want to, just to bring you guys in a little extra, but really what he is super extra does. Neil Gaur's work is recognized worldwide by top leaders in the spiritual community. Neil Gaur is the founder of Portal to Ascension, an online resource for all topics relating to UFO disclosure, healing, conscious and consciousness. He has created a platform for live and online events that explore the depths of reality and the cosmos. The intention of Portal to Ascension is to assist in the awakening process through various aspects of awareness, including ancient civilization and true world history, extraterrestrial disclosure, and the evolution of consciousness. He also facilitates workshops on sound and frequency, and along with his wife, pioneers revolutionary awareness to create a paradigm shift on Earth. And that word really should get you. It's on Earth. It's not just us, but it's everywhere. And so please welcome Neil.
Thank you. Hey everyone. All right, so if you just got in, my PowerPoint isn't working, so it's got 10 minutes until it loads up to the cloud. So I'm just going to talk until it loads. And what I want to do first is I actually like to start out my presentations with some spoken word because it actually helps neutralize my nerves. So I'm gonna do a piece. This one's called Atlantis. So are we one yet? Going back to source. No remorse when we reinforce the course that we all endorse. Unconditional love. It's the highest vibration, a gift from above. Desolation or separation, we must be the ones to say this is enough. You see, the third dimension was meant to be tough. There is no captivity, so unlock the cusp, move away from hate and begin to trust. No more anger or lust. A thought shifts the earth's quest into a straight axis. Just like in Atlantis. Stop causing damage and learn to manage self-realization. When people start to vanish when we change our intentions and join the like-minded souls in the fifth dimension. You see, this is the beginning of our oversoul mission. The future incarnations, the Christ consciousness has arisen. Tear the perception of being in a prison. This industrial system, slumber of opposites. Duality where we get lost and forget how to circumvent and achieve liberation. The curiosity won't last for long at all. As we move to the aquatic age, break free from the third dimensional cage of limitations, Freemasons being misplaced in this illusionary reality, governing authorities, there will be no more war. Co-creator, love ambassador, open the doors. Life isn't supposed to be a chore. No getting on your knees worshiping entities from the floor. The message is simple, man, we don't need to know anymore. We are the ones that we've been waiting for. Thank you.
Where can we get those words?
MC Resonance on YouTube.
Thank you.
I haven't been to Egypt. I'm going in a couple of months to, but we do go to other sites like Yucatan, other places I've been, and we film little music videos, me doing different spoken word pieces at these places, as well as documentaries on the true ancient history of these locations. So youtube.com/mcresonance has all that there. So hi again everyone, my name is Neil, and as I was introduced, I am the founder of an organization called Portal to Ascension, and we have become a one-stop shop for all things consciousness. And this presentation I'm going to do today is about sound, vibration, ancient civilizations. I have multiple presentations on sound and vibe. One's called, obviously, Ancient Civilizations. The other one is Quantum Metaphysics, which is, to me, metaphysics and quantum physics are one and the same. Quantum physics is how we communicate in the linear scientific realm. Metaphysics, more of the creative energy of the origination. To me, metaphysics is metaphorical quantum physics. For example, in quantum physics, you have singularity. In metaphysics, you have oneness. In quantum physics, you have electromagnetic fields. In metaphysics, you have the aura. It's the exact same thing. So through this, I've delved deep into sound and vibration. I like to talk about all topics. I like to talk about extraterrestrials, ascension, spiritual development. But what I've realized is since we're all sound and vibration, I can use sound and vibration as a premise for everything and build from it. So the story today isn't specifically, yes, sound vibration is everything, but the story today is really to delve into the ancient past and rediscover who we were and what happened to us and what created this disconnect of us realizing these frequencies that we were tapped into for quite some time. And everybody today touched on something that I'll be speaking about as well. It's because we all have this cohesion here where we all have pieces of the puzzle. And my goal in life has always been to find out what all the pieces are. Like when I was raised a Hindu. I was born in London, UK, and I moved over here, moved to California when I was 12 years old, and I was born in Hindu and raised a Hindu. But I never really believed in anything. I called myself an atheist Hindu for like the longest time, because like I would do all the rites and rituals that my parents told me to do, but I didn't have any belief at all. So come 2000, when I was 18 years old, I graduated. I went to college at Cal State Fullerton, started delving into not only substances such as mushrooms, but also started communicating with many different groups of people. I started writing spoken word pieces. That piece that I wrote right there, I wrote in 2003. And I started writing all this poetry about like interdimensional travel, extraterrestrials, black holes, planets, and seeding up the earth without any awareness of what was doing. I just knew there's some spiritual connection. In 2002, 2003, I went on the internet. I did a search of some of the words that I've been writing. Through that, I found 3 individuals: Nassim Haramein, Jim Self, and Jordan Maxwell. Right there, Jordan Maxwell with the occult information. And then you have Nassim Haramein, who really has the science. He's really bridged the gap between consciousness and the linear sciences. And then Jim Self, he was talking about the Merkaba, the light body, how you can travel through the Merkaba. So I went down hardcore research from like age 20 to 26 up until 2008, nonstop. I was at Panera Bread with the Bible, the Quran, the Sumerian tablets of creation, highlighting similarities and other texts as well, trying to figure out where we all came from. Through this, I found out information about the Anunnaki and the Sumerian scriptures, talking about an extraterrestrial race that had interactions with us on this planet. I started reading deeper into this, and I realized that this text was actually communicating were actually the exact same stories that are in the Old Testament. The exact same stories, like except the names were different. And these people that were like Noah, for example, or other Ezekiel, whoever, were actually called extraterrestrial hybrids of different with human DNA and other DNA. And this predated the Christian Bible. So to me, it was like I celebrated Christmas my whole life. I was raised to believe in everything. So to me, it was like, whoa, wait a second. This religion that has taken over the planet and really is a precipice of the Western world is either based on this old scripture that has the same stories but talk about extraterrestrials, or everything is completely fake. It was one or the other to me, you know? So I took the first one. And then, until 2008, I was going hardcore into this information, but I went really deep into the conspiracies. I had a good 6 years of which sucks, it was during my college years, even though I had a lot of time, fun times still, but it was like, I was hardcore into the conspiracies. I was like, oh dude, the Illuminati's gonna take us, we're gonna be controlled. I knew about the swine flu 8 months before it came out, because I heard about it from the grapevine, from speakers I was speaking to, and when it came out, there was this whole depopulation agenda thing. So I was freaking out. I was the guy at 24 years old getting a gas mask to protect myself from the swine flu, because I thought that we were going to be wiped out, because that's a whole presentation on its own to really explain why I felt like that. So 2008, I'm hanging out with my friend. I'm at an open mic doing spoken word, and Soul was there first time we met, my wife, and actually no, you weren't there. We met a year later, but the guy who introduced us was there on stage singing a song called My Name is Love. At this time, I was really down and out, confused. There was something missing, right? I spent my whole life into this spiritual, I spent the whole of my adult life in this spiritual realm, but I was completely consumed by conspiracies. And then he was on stage and he sang this song called My Name is Love. And in that moment, I had an awakening moment that the missing link was love. That I was into spirituality, but I wasn't implementing any of this spirituality. So in 2008 was when, 2006, a couple years before that, I created a Facebook group called 2012 Consciousness, Mind Evolution and Presence. It was a platform to understand, what all this information was about. Tens of thousands of people joined. By 2008, after a series of dreams, and after I found out everything was love, I had a dream saying, name your organization Portal to Ascension. Sent a request to Facebook, can I change my fan page? They said yes, boom, Portal to Ascension was born. And we started with small meditation events. By 2009, we went on our first tour up and down the coast with Dr. Dream, who does a 3-hour energy healing thing, hooking up the right frequency machines, like 20 different energetic modalities for 3 hours. And I learned how to do sound healing while I was on that tour. And that's where my fascination with sound and frequency came. And then a year later, after that tour was done, we went on another tour, and this tour was with a guy called Brad Johnson, who channels a being called Adronis from the constellation of Sirius. I don't know if you guys are familiar with channeling, but it's basically extraterrestrial channeling. So we did the first ever national extraterrestrial channeling tour, where we went on the road for, it was over 2 years, because my wife and I got together midway in the tour, and then we ended up touring together too. But basically doing a sound healing in the beginning, and then he would do a channeling from Sirius, where people would just ask questions from the ET, and then he would answer, and it was just like the most mind-boggling experience. So while that was happening, Portal to Ascension was growing. It was kind of the beginning. By 2010 to 2012, we had created quite a lot of events. In 2012, we created 2 huge conferences called Cosmic Reunion 1 and Cosmic Reunion 4th Density, where it was 3-day expos on all this information. It was basically for December 21st, 2012. Then after that happened, let me see if this is uploaded real quick. 3 minutes left. So after that happened in 2012, the second event we didn't do too well at all. Like, we did so bad that we literally could not pay our rent. So my wife and I had to leave our place, and we became nomads for. This is the first out of 3 times that we became homeless together. She told me that she didn't sign up for missionary work because I was just doing these events without any expectations for money. I would do events and people would come in the door, and I couldn't even ask them to pay because I didn't even have the guts in me to be like, hey, I'm putting this together. I had to get down here. Please give me my $25 to enter the room. I couldn't do that. She actually can do that very well. So she took over that component now, and she handled that. But due to things like that, and due to my relationship with abundance, we just couldn't afford anything. So I was about to quit Portal to Ascension. I was like, dude, I can't do this. This is like the 6th time I was going to quit it. I'm done with this work. Like, I need to go back to using my degree again, go and do something and settle down. However, my friend, an angel investor, came and said, hey dude, here's a lump sum of money, redesign Portal to Ascension and see what you can do. So we rebranded, and we created an online university for consciousness, where I have 0 overhead costs except for a monthly fee, and I can contact and communicate with everyone, and I'm marketing to the entire planet. Now we have people in Kazakhstan emailing me every week, people in remote villages in India that get half the village together to watch our webinars every week. We have non-stop tens of thousands of people watching our webinars every single week, and we work with a lot of speakers on every topic under the sun, with almost any with every topic on the sun, with many speakers, from people that are extremely famous, for example, you might know Stephen Greer or Michael Tellinger. I don't know if you guys know him, and all the way to very just starting out. And some people we produce everything for. Like, we produce all of Stephen Greer's events. Michael Tellinger, who's the only archaeologist in South Africa, who I'm going to show some research from today, we actually produce tours from him yearly in US. So it became an event production company for conscious presenters that they didn't even need it. They didn't even know they needed the service. So now we are basically probably the biggest platform in the world that is, for lack of a better term, lobbying for this disclosure of the fact that there's extraterrestrials that have been visiting us and are still visiting us, and our ancestry to them. We work with whistleblowers, the Ministry of Defense in the UK, Ministry of Defense in Canada, people that come onto our platform first in order to communicate, all the way to archaeologists, spiritualists, quantum physicists, everything that can explain what is going on and empower us so that we can reach a higher level of existence. And that is basically the premise of everything that we do. Okay, so today's presentation, Sound, Vibration, Ancient Civilizations. If you want to check out my other ones, the Ultimate Sound Frequency, which is a 4-hour presentation, that's on portaltoascension.org. This is a 3-hour presentation I'm going to do in 40 minutes. So that's why I'm speaking extremely fast. Actually, do you mind if I speak faster? Because I would love to speak faster. Okay, so I'm just going to remember my first slide. So what I come to realize is what we're going to do is, first, there are some universal ground facts, because this whole entire presentation on sound frequency. And before we really get into this, we got to lay down the ground facts of what is true within sound and frequency, what we can prove today, and what modern science has accepted as true. And I'm going to just try to remember it, I guess. Yes.
What we see is the visual, what we hear is limited by our ears. To your opinion, is the entire EMF frequency band sound? And we just don't think it is because our ears have a limited range. Yes or no?
Yes, I think the whole premise is sound and vibration is audible and non-audible. All frequency is basically sound, but we can't perceive it all.
Got it.
And you know what really is a bummer is my presentation is too big to even play on Google Drive. Let me see if this works. Oh my god, this sucks. Does anybody have a computer so I can just link up my thumb drive really quick? Can I see your computer?
I've got to go out in the car and get it. It's a
Okay.
laptop.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, all right.
I'm sorry, guys.
I'll stay here till midnight.
So we can
This
almost
is
just listen
interesting.
to him. You could say everything.
So, see if I can figure this out another way. If while we're waiting for him, if anybody has a question for me, then I can just answer that.
I actually have something else to share about
Yeah.
what I asked and learned earlier.
Go ahead.
Because, is anybody here signed up for Watch Guidance and TV? Is that familiar?
Okay, TV, yeah.
Yeah, and so something I'm familiar with because I was not familiar with this, and so I was trying. So he was mentioning something about Netflix. It's like going to Netflix, but you can't interact with Netflix. You pick your movie, and so Lion TV offers a lot of documentaries in the spiritual realm, and this all of the realms that he's talking about. But the difference is in the oh my goodness, it's called Ascension Portal.
Portal to Ascension.
Portal to Ascension is that it's actually live workshops where you can have Q&A and talk to people.
Interact with speakers.
And so for me, I was like, what? Like so many times I was watching something on Gaia and I think, oh, if I could just ask one question about that little part right there. And so now I'm excited to go here and there's a portion you can join for free and watch tens, thousands of hours, or then you can go and get a little more elevated and involved. So I just wanted to say that because if anybody's familiar, wondering, okay, what is this all about? How does it work? It's just a very interactive workshop space that you can be on and live with it. So if you have questions after today, you can go there and ask.
Yes, I'm just going to grab my thumb drive. So basically our website is, you go to it, you sign up, you get an email with the password, and then you get a login, and it's basically like Netflix on the back end where you can sort by conspiracy theory, ancient civilization, consciousness, self-empowerment, whatever you want, and it repopulates the thumbnails so that you can just click on it and just watch whatever you want to watch. And if you sign up for free, there's over 10,000 hours of footage for you. And then you can sign up for upcoming events too. Cool, here we go.
You want a mouse or the pad? Good.
Pad's good.
And Neil, is most of that content that you've created?
I've created it all, yeah. I've created it all with other speakers, but they're all my productions, yes.
Wow.
And then we have, in October, we have our biggest event ever. It's our 1,000th event production in 10 years called the Portal to Ascension Conference in Irvine, California. 20 speakers, 3 days. People in the tops of the fields, the best archaeologists in the world, in my opinion, because they're talking truth,
Right.
even though the world would say that they're not the best because they're not speaking what they want them to speak. And then we have UFO journalists and researchers. We have some government officials. We have the ex-FBI guy who actually X-Files was created off. He was in charge of the paranormal files. We create all of his stuff. So when he actually left the ex-FBI, which was like 5 years ago, he came onto our platform because we were the ones basically putting it out to the public of the fact that it was real, and then he was releasing the documents, you know? So he'll be there too. But then the ultimate thing about everything we do is the evolution of consciousness. So all these people are spiritual, like as spiritual as us. And so we're just providing information so that, you know, we can take the next level in evolution. Okay, so are you ready?
Yeah, I'm just closing stuff out.
It was too big to play on Google Drive. And you have PowerPoint here, right? Oops, sorry, brother. Okay. And I was so excited for this all day, and then it didn't go as smooth as I wanted to. But it's all good.
You needed a USB to transfer this USB tape to the top of it.
Yeah, cool.
I'm going to scoot you all the way over because you keep scooting.
Hey, stop doing that. It's really throwing me off, please.
Okay, but then the camera can't get it.
Okay.
So this needs to be, this is where you need to.
I'm not one to ever energize attacks or people trying to take out my information, you know, but sometimes it gets weird. All right, here we go. Boom. All right, so the only issue is that the videos it's going to show you are on my computer. So if you want to see them, you can probably come see me later and I'll just show you them. Okay, cool. Boom, boom, boom. Ultimate sound. My timeline. 2001, I awoke. 2002, 2008, conspiracies. 2008, missing link was love. Here is a view of our website from current side. Boom. So that's one. We have the truth about Antarctica coming out pretty soon. There's underground bases there, by the way, and UFO sites. This is how our website looks. Speakers we work with, conference coming up. So why sound? The reason why I chose this presentation, this topic, is because of this quote basically sums it all up. The forms of snowflakes and faces of flowers may take on their shape because they are responding to some sound in nature. Likewise, it is possible that crystals, plants, and human beings may be in some way music that has taken on visible form. And that's actually true. Everything is a reflection of the frequencies around us and within us, including in our DNA. And if you can't believe that, you can believe Albert Einstein, right? Because we accept him on the mainstream. Even Albert Einstein, the #1 particle physicist in the world, he isn't even a particle physicist. Look what he says here. Concerning matter, we have all been wrong. What we have called matter is energy whose vibration has been so lowered as to be perceptible to the human senses. Albert Einstein is saying is there is no matter. But wait a second. I can touch this wood. This is hard. I can see you right there, right? So what is he saying? Universal ground facts. We are vibratory energy beings. We can all accept that here because we're all into metaphysics, but it's accepted on the mainstream now too. Atoms actually aren't particles. They vibrate in and out of reality. Our brains produce electricity. Electricity being produced in our brain goes down our brainstem, pumps our nervous system, goes down our spine, pumps all of our organs. We're a car battery being pumped until we are brain dead. When we're brain dead, there's no more electricity, organs no more, don't flow anymore. Vibration and frequency is measured in hertz. 10 hertz, 10 times per second. 100 hertz, 100 times per second. The universe is singing. This one we won't talk about in this presentation. Humans have lived on Earth for hundreds of thousands of years, more than widely accepted, if not millions of years. Metaphysics and quantum physics terms. I created this graph because for so long I was like, dude, metaphysics and quantum physics is the same thing. No one's talking about it. So I created a graph to kind of show the different terminology. Singularity, oneness, quantum field, consciousness, electromagnetic field, aura, wave, vibration, dimension, realm, energy, paradox. It's the same exact thing.
Nice.
Why sound? Well, the reason why I chose sound is called all ancient stories talk about it. Every ancient story. Actually, I've looked at 60 of them and they all talk about it. I'm sure there's going to be more, but out of every single one I've looked up, they talk about sound. Even the ones that you think don't talk about sound are, and we'll get into that. The universe is full of frequency. We only hear and see a limited frequency range. So why sound? Well, just like you said before, we only hear and see this range. So aren't you curious what's above it? What's below it? What's on the side of it? What can't we see? It exists. We know it exists, but we also know we can't see it or feel it. Countless inaudible frequencies around us always. So why sound? Because there's countless frequencies all the time around us. So why not understand what effect is happening on us? Because it is having an effect. My wife and I, this is kind of the sound healing setup we do. We create epic sound experiences that are interactive. It's almost like 30 people, 100 people in the audience, but you feel like it's a one-on-one session because we go in and out, play the didgeridoos on you and everything. Original reason we created this presentation is because we wanted to train sound healers, not just how to play sound, but to learn everything about sound, ancient history, quantum physics. So that was the origination of this. Well, sound healing, like adjusting a piano or tuning a guitar, your body can also be tuned. Ancient instruments utilized to heal and align humanity. Utilizing sound tools will instantaneously alter your body's biochemistry. It's been proven by hooking up people to machines that read that, seeing the harmony created after 5 minutes of certain frequencies. They align your chakras, emotional, spiritual, and physical bodies. And some of the benefits here, I'm not going to go through. So now, one of the benefits though is it produces theta waves. So the gamma wave is a genius state. Gurus, people that have really advanced consciousness, reach this level. Children that are 4 and under are always at gamma wave because they're tapped into a higher consciousness. Beta wave. Right now, you and I, we're in beta. We're talking, we're communicating, we're up. Alpha waves. Alpha is when I close my eyes. Alpha. Theta is deep meditation, intuition. Delta is dreamless state, really, really deep, deeper than theta. The whole concept of meditation isn't sitting there and breathing in and out. Meditation is a brainwave state called theta. Whatever you do that puts you in theta puts you in meditation. So when people come to me and say, hey, how do I meditate? I can't meditate, so I don't. I tell them the science behind the fact that meditation isn't what everybody tells you it is, because every person says this is how to meditate. Meditation is if you can reach the level of theta wave. If you're washing the dishes in a theta state, you can do that. If you've been somewhere before over and over and you drive there again and you don't even think about it, you're in theta. So what you need to do is cultivate theta waves. So what sound frequency and sound healing does, it puts your body into theta within 5 to 10 minutes of listening to the sounds. So instead, it's like a fast track to meditation, because instead of sitting there for 20 minutes to quiet yourself, calm yourself, breathe, so you can get to theta, what you're doing is you're actually using sound tools that actually make your brain shift there, and then you just follow along with that. So as a sound practitioner, you would need to know patience, because these are sacred instruments, and intention is everything. Frequency is frequency. Frequency will affect you. But without your belief system, accepting that frequency can heal you, and without your intention, when you're healing that person, you're only getting 50% of the equation. So with 50% of the equation, it's not always going to work. Especially if you're like, oh, what? Oh, I got cancer. I need chemotherapy. Sound frequency won't do anything. Screw sound. And I've heard similar things before. And but the fact is that if you don't have the belief that it's going to accept it, the universe is so unconditional that it literally will give you what you're asking. If you were asking for it, it will give it to you. If you're saying, I don't want it, it won't give it to you. So your intention, your belief systems are key. By Jonathan Goldman's That Equation. Here's his book. Really beautiful book.
Question,
yes.
I hate to do this, but this when you say intention plus frequency, are you talking about doing frequency entrainment?
During frequency entrainment, no, I'm talking about the intention of the individual while they're playing sound tools.
So you use the word frequency.
Yes.
But if you're not entrained, you're not going to be co-resonant.
Right. So yes, I would say that's true too, but what I'm specifically talking about there is the individual's intention.
Thank you.
So here's the chakra system. Does anybody not know what the chakra system is? Okay, cool. Next slide. I go into detail in like 10 minutes on each of these, so bear with me. So when I first got into metaphysics and I found out about the chakra system, I just thought there were metaphorical areas for energy centers in your body. Like, oh, there's a portal here, the energy swirls this way and it's this color and it's all love and light. And I believed that for so long and I was cool with that. However, very soon later, I stumbled on the fact that the physiology of the human body. And the way it works is that our brain is producing this type of acid that creates this electrical current. This electrical current goes down our brainstem, down on, I might as well go right here, down our brainstem right here through some nerves, and then there's 6 outpours, 6 holes in our spine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Each of those outpours are holes in the spine where nerves are coming out, going to all the corresponding organs. And guess what? Each of those areas are the chakras. So chakras aren't just some metaphysical thing. It's an actual physical area in your body with nerves. And guess where those nerves go to? The organs that relate to those chakras and those points. So when I found this out, I started like validating and understanding the science behind the fact that all of this stuff is true. And even though I love belief and I love consciousness and having faith at times, I really love the science because I love the validation. Plus, my mission on this planet is to reach the linear-minded people through this awareness so that I can bring them to the heart. So the best way to do that is through the facts, right? So the ancient use of sound and resonance in all creation stories. So we all know the first one. In the beginning, there was the Word, and the Word was God. The Word. The universe was sung into creation, the Egyptians. Hinduism has Om, and every single chakra has a seed sound, frequency. Om vibrates at 432 hertz. Aboriginals, 3 sacred songs, Aborigines of Australia. And then there's the 6 days of creation, which the 6 aspects of Om, the 6 Solfeggio frequencies, and the 6 aspects of the all-seeing eye of Horus. And in the Krishna Yajurveda, we have this quote: in the beginning was Brahman, and whom was with the Word, and the Word is Brahman. Does that sound familiar to you guys? So trip out on this. A pagan religion, it's not pagan at all, but a religion that is the farthest thing from Christianity has the exact same quote. Like, this is the same quote, it's just interchangeable with God. And now let's break down Bible 1:1. So in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. What was the word? Sound. So we're going to change word out for sound now. Sound was with God in the beginning. So wait, sound was with God in the beginning. Sound was right there with God. Through sound, all things were made. Through sound, all things were made. Without sound, nothing was made that has been made. In sound was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. So, and then it goes on, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness does not overcome it. So the whole entire thing is talking about sound. But what's even crazier is, in the beginning was the sound, and the sound was with God, and the sound was God. We have the first ever paradox. The paradox of creation, because this universe is based on it. The Word was with God. So the Word was right there by God. Two separate individuals hanging out together. They were together, sound and God. But the Word was God. So wait a second, we got the first duality, but the duality is really the one. That's what it's saying right there. And I love 11 in John 1:1, which is pretty cool. Ancient Egypt. So in ancient Egypt, we've all been told that pre-dynastic Egypt was around 3000 BC, right? Completely false. What they don't tell you is that we cannot carbon date rock. So because we live in an advanced society, we all think that, oh yeah, if they're telling us today we have all this advanced technology, we know the date must be true. But the fact of the matter is, when you date things like this, all you can do is go based on the scriptures, the hieroglyphics, or find the last piece of papyrus and carbon date that, and then track back that. So what did they do? Oh, around 3000 BC. However, with a few people, all the people I'm going to be talking about today, we actually work with extensively to bring out the information. But there's a geologist, Robert Schoch, who's our headliner at a conference in October. He's the guy who redated the Sphinx. So what we do know about in ancient Egypt is that the Sphinx actually had the face of a lion when it was in its heyday. The Sphinx was also facing the constellation of Leo, Lion, Leo. The last time the Sphinx was facing the constellation of Leo was 9600 BC, around 12,000 to 13,000 years ago, the turn of the last zodiac. So with that right there, that completely throws off everything that we were taught, because 9600 BC, we were supposed to be primitive. So they don't want that to be pushed out. So that's just one thing, right? However, there's many different things that put us back to the same exact date. There's another one. So the Nile River did not used to be where it was right now. The hieroglyphics have shown the actual geological movement of the Nile River and where it was. The last time the Nile River was in the place that it's been told that it was, which was on the other side of the pyramids, not where it is now, it was actually moved quite a lot, was also the date of 9600 BC. So the dates that they're finding with many different things, I'm only going to go with 2 out of like 10, have all not gone back, oh, this was 8600, this was 9,000, all of them 9600 BC. As in the fall of, as in the beginning of the downfall of the Egyptian, the evolved Egyptian empire, because there's many people that inhabited Egypt after that. Moses and all that, and all those individuals weren't even the original Egyptians. So unfortunately this video is not here, but I'll explain it. So a guy called Brian Forrester, who is the only researcher on the elongated skulls in Peru that we work with a lot, he went into the Great Pyramid in one of the Great Pyramids on the Giza Plateau. In the Great Pyramid, in this video, I'll explain it, he goes up into this chamber, they're all there, they're all chanting, they're all going, ah, like that. The whole entire chamber starts resonating this frequency and sound. They have a keyboard there, they're playing the key on the keyboard, and it comes out to A equals 432 hertz. A is for the third eye. The Egyptians were all about the third eye, intuition, the pineal gland activations. The whole entire mystery school was based on this. So as the frequency is resonating in this chamber, it seems that they were using it for something. If there's this documentary called The Pyramid Code. In The Pyramid Code, it's a 10-part series on Netflix. It's actually become mainstream now, but it's telling you the truth. In The Pyramid Code, we see that the Nile River, what would happen is it would overflow every season. When the Nile River would overflow, there's actually aqueducts under every single pyramid. So we have the pyramid here. Okay, Nile River's right here, aqueducts right here. The Nile River would overflow, go under here, go into the aqueducts. There are 2 copper rods, 1, 2. in all the pyramids on the Giza Plateau and other places in the world. These are the only ones that they've done these studies.
Rods?
Yes, copper rods. And what would happen is it would create an electrical current. The rods would take the frequency from that current, from the water going in it, create a frequency current, go into the pyramid, end right here into hollowed out tubes. Guess what would happen? We have the first ever speaker. The electrical current would go up into here, become the sound frequency that is creating from the water current, and the sound frequency would go up into here into a chamber where there's flat beds that was the sound chamber with hieroglyphics all around it, with people with ankhs with sonic vibrations coming out of it. And all of this is actually shown in detail in the pyramid code. They show you the science behind it, they show you the images, they show you underground, all that. So and then what he goes on to show in the video is that not only was that happening, but the pyramid that he's in the video, which is the red pyramid, has this huge crack in the pyramid. So that goes to the theory that a lot of people have been talking about, the fact that the pyramids got overpowered at some point and all exploded and shut down. It seems that there were energy generating devices that were there to create a grid line, which is why they're all on the ley lines of the earth, also taking the natural current of the earth in order to keep the humanity at a certain frequency. So, little detour, side note on history. Ancient Atlantis, 13,000 years ago, starts the downfall. Over 2,000 years, multiple meteorite collisions in the earth. Atlantis falls in 3 stages. By the end of the last stage, Egypt starts getting created because they know that Atlantis is going to fall. They go to Egypt. In Egypt, they're at a devolution of consciousness. We go to this 26,000 year cycle of consciousness. Evolution, dark ages, boom, 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 over and over and over. So they knew this was happening. But in Egypt, they didn't want to lose all of their wisdom and awareness. So what they did was they created technology in order to keep the frequency of the planet at a higher vibration. One of which was the pyramid culture that was worldwide. Started creating pyramids everywhere in order to create this ley line around the planet to keep us at a higher frequency. However, they were really they were going against evolution. They were going against what was supposed to happen, which was we were supposed to come down here. So since they were doing that, there was this time where the frequency of the planet wouldn't even sustain the higher vibrations that the Egyptians were creating. What happened? A lot of the technology overpowered, exploded, stopped working. What's happening now? We're going back into that cycle. Many of these pyramids are being reactivated. And you can see some infrared images of these pyramids, and this straight up, like you can't deny what's going on with them. Okay, so 432 hertz equals A. Please move on to the next slide. I'm gonna have to start it again. Hold up. I'm telling you, man, it's the Illuminati. The Illuminati. They're never gonna hold me back. All right. Okay, so it's way more theatrical if I just went into the slide, but I'm just gonna do it abruptly. So the third eye, sound A. The Eye of Horus. Now we have the Eye of Horus here, which is actually the exact same representation as the pineal gland and the pituitary gland. See that right here? Boom, 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 boom. Right there, same here. The Egyptians were freaking genius. Not only did they create an eye to represent the mystery school that represented the third eye because it's one eye, but they also created an eye that was the exact same representation of our third eye and our pineal gland and our pituitary gland in our own brain. How did they know this? We don't have any evidence for surgery. We have a lot of evidence for the fact that they were intuitive and channeling all types of beings and maybe had some insight from some sort of higher consciousness or some sort of celestial insight. But if that's not enough, they also knew the beauty of musical intervals. They created not only the eye to represent what's actually within our brain, but they created the eye based on the exact musical intervals that we didn't even implement into our mainstream music until Pythagoras, thousands of years later. In ancient Egypt, vowels weren't used. Vowels actually weren't used until Egypt fell and the other cultures around the world started being implemented. Vowels are very sacred. They were only used in sacred chants and things like that. So they never used, like, let's say for English, A-E-I-O-U. So anytime there was that letter used in something, it was actually silent. Vowels were introduced to humanity because we were getting at such a lower vibration of existence that the vowels were put in because the vowels were sounds that activate chakra points. For example, A. ah, very heart-opening sound. The science behind that goes deep. And then you got E, which is the crown chakra here. You chant the vowels, especially in Egypt, you're going to be activating something. The vowels in the Western language has been created very flat from a deliberate reason of what has happened in the bastardization of the English language. So vowels were not used, and then they were brought in later. So we're going to get into Adam's calendar now. There's an individual named Michael Tellinger. He's the only archaeologist in South Africa, and he found these stone circles in South Africa. And has anybody seen these before? Okay, so these stones, there's thousands of these stone circles all throughout South Africa, and no one's doing any research on them. He's the only one doing it. And the scientific evaluation of these structures seem to be that they're energy generating devices using the natural sound harmonic frequency that emanate from the surface of the earth. The earth resonates at something called the Schumann resonance. The Schumann resonance is the frequency of C sharp. So these stones all are emanating that kind of frequency. And all of these stone circles are actually made out of something called dolerite that's not even natural to the region. So it had to be transported there. And they're estimated to be around 75,000 years old. Underneath these, but hundreds of feet underneath them, are huge gold mining caverns that are also 75,000 years old. 75,000-year-old gold mining operation proven in South Africa. Wait a second, who was mining gold 75,000 years ago? Right? We were primitive, right? Michael Tellinger is studying under Zachariah Sitchin, who's the guy who translated the 7 tablets of creation from Sumeria that has basically transformed the entire world, if you have even delved into the Sumerian tablets at all. And what happened was that the Anunnaki race of beings that lived in Sumeria, Mesopotamia, they actually seeded out, and there was a lot of separation and splits between brothers and the bloodline. One of them actually went to South Africa, created his kingdom in South Africa, and ruled over the people in South Africa. When he was there, the Sumerian scriptures say this. Went to South Africa, wasn't called South Africa then. It explains the area of the world. The tip of South Africa created these stone circles and created a mining operation there. So that's the theory of what these are for. These stone circles are very specific and unique to certain geometries. And if you've ever seen something called cymatics, which is like sand, basically you have a sand plate, you put sand on it, you put certain frequencies, all of a sudden it starts making this beautiful geometry. All of these stone circles have similar features to cymatics. So, and here, the amazing geometry of the way it's all laid out, like really precise. And also aligned to the stars like other places in the world, and also in the ley lines. These stone circles generate over 380 gigahertz of frequency now, which is unheard of any application on this planet. You go in there, it's like a crop circle, your technology stops working. This vanished civilization obviously had a really great understanding of energy that we don't even understand now. And the theory actually goes is that these weren't actually even made by anybody, that they were made by a technology that made it that the frequency of the earth generated its own cymatic, and it just raised out of the ground, because the beings who made this stuff didn't need to actually put the stones into place. If you guys want to look up Michael Tellinger fossils, you can find something even more amazing, which is the fact that just a few months ago, and we just did a presentation with Michael in Irvine on this, and just a few months ago, he was walking around one of these thousands of stone circles that he's been around for so many years, and all of a sudden these things start falling out. Puts 1 on the table, puts 2 on the table, puts 500 on the table, because there's like a lot of them. And he looks at them, and there are fossilized parts of giants. Heart that big, legs huge, and you can take a look at all the fossils, mud fossils of giants. But what's even crazier is these fossils were in the walls of the stone circles. And you take the mud fossil and you bang it like this, they make the most perfect harmonics, sound tools. Okay, so Hampi, India. Temple dedicated to the deity Vitala. So the deity of Vitala in Hampi, India, in south of India, Vitala is actually a deity of two gods combined. We have Vishnu, who has the conch, and when Vishnu plays the conch, it makes the sound Om. And we have Shiva, who plays the drum, and when Shiva plays the drum, he plays Om. You can see that little drum right here, boom, boom, boom. And together, they make Vitala, and this temple was dedicated to them and the sound frequency that they create together. Oh, and this I wish I could show you the video. Okay, so the construction was 1442 AD to 1446, and over there's musical pillars of the Ranga Mantapa. The Ranga Mantapa is one of the main attractions at this place. And I know it's going to time me out to show you the video, so I'm going to skip it. Okay, let's just show you this Indian guy. okay, so what he's doing in this video, and so in this place there's 56 musical pillars. These pillars are just part of this temple, and here is the temple. This is probably a better thing for you to see. Okay, in this temple there's 56 pillars that you go up to these pillars and you can play them and they'll make the most beautiful sounds ever. Dun, 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 perfect harmonics. But not only that, there's 3 different types of instruments that they're all mimicking. One's a wind instrument, one's a drum instrument, and I forget the last one, a string instrument. So there's 56 of them all split up into sections that all resonate and sound like different types of instruments. So, but when you play them, all of them have 7 different frequency notes on them. Each of those frequency notes are called, these pillars are called the Saregama pillars, because Saregama is the Eastern musical scale, just like Solfeggio, Sol, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Ti is the Western. Exact same thing, 2 different areas of the world. So in here, when you play them, you can play them and play all 7 sounds, and you hear this beautiful vibration and frequency. When the British went to India and they invaded India, and they went and found Hampi, India, and went to the temple in Hampi, and they started trying to figure out what was going on with this, they actually took down one of the pillars, cut it open. What did they find? Nothing but stone. All of these pillars were made with the most fine architecture and construction ever, to the T, that all of them are making these certain frequencies, but when you look in them all, they all look exactly the same. And this guy is playing it right there. And here is the Saregama. So what's even more of a trip is Saregama is actually correlated to the chakra system. So the sounds that each of those pillars make, all 7 sounds, are all 7 frequencies for each of the chakras. And here we have the Saregama scale that is based on the chakras and what chakra corresponds to each one. So this temple, what would happen is when wind would come through it, when people would play it, when it would rain, all of a sudden all 7 notes of all the chakras from all these different types of instruments and 56 pillars would play at the exact same time, making these sounds. People go to the temple. Why do you go to the temple? For Indians to achieve enlightenment back in the day. So they would go there, they created this temple that was at this high vibratory frequency that was creating these sounds, and they were getting these, they were basically receiving these alignments while they were doing this, while they were praying and worshiping.
What was the name of the temple again?
Vitala in Hampi, India. So moving on to Palenque, Mexico. So in Palenque, there is a central, Palenque, Mexico was a central hub for commerce, diplomacy, and foreign affairs. Many different ethnic groups were actually represented there, and that's another rabbit hole to talk about. Chinese, Greek, Egyptian, ancient Indian artifacts and hieroglyphics were found there. Underneath the biggest pyramid in Palenque, 100 feet down, a jade Buddha, put there before the pyramid was even created. Pyramid structure that was specifically for all the intellectuals, politicians, scientists, and mathematicians and astronomers that existed there. This pyramid structure is right here. So my wife and I was there in the next video that I think I need to plug my computer in because you need to see it. So okay, right here, here's not even the main part. This is 1/8 of the main part of Palenque. It's huge. Right here, 5,000 temples in the wilderness. Maybe 100 of them excavated, maybe 1,000 or 2 completely unexcavated. The other ones don't need to be unexcavated, but are just chilling there. Spend a whole entire day, you walk through, you maybe see 100 of them or so. And so this building right here was for all the elite. The elite behind this were all the places that they would live and stay in. They would stay in the structure. Inside that, they would also have this little area where they would convene. All the elite of the society that had to get together to figure out how to make the best society possible would get in that structure, and they would talk and they would discuss affairs and then bring culture from all over the world to decide how to live in the Mayan Empire. 3000 BC this was happening. And now I must show you this. So my wife and I travel full time, so instead of getting other people's doing these things, we're actually now filming ourselves going around basically doing the exact same thing or doing other things that no one's done before. And one of them would be this. Palenque, where you at? Palenque institution. Here we go. Oh, I got all the videos here. Okay, let's just show you them all. His Hampi, India. So he's only playing one note, but plays 7 of them there. Red Pyramid, Egypt.
Maybe a third of the way in.
Brian Forster.
As well as the heat generated by anticipation and awe. Okay, so we're at the bottom of the descending passage. So we're inside the first of the main chambers of the Red Pyramid, and it is tuned to A. That seems to be the sound that it likes the best.
Okay. Then boom, Palenque.
So the sound just was coming through, right?
So what do we have here? So they were just doing all different types of chants, right? But the chants were actually funneling all into the same note, even though they were all different notes. So no matter what sound you made in there, some sort of technology or some sort of design was making it that everything would reverberate at A. So do you think this was an instrument?
It was from the construction, but in the ancient time they made a music.
You can't hear the sound too low. Sounds like the Hampi pillars.
This is the rock, huh?
But it has the little holes where.
Those holes is for to transport.
Right on top of that structure I showed
Do you
you.
know what these hieroglyphs are?
It date when they build the construction, when they start building, there was this rest for this stone is over here. This is complete. It is the rest, you see? Over here. Between these two, that is more than 3 tons.
So that was over here?
Yes,
So this was a part of the roof.
exactly.
So the
Absolutely
acoustic-
was the corner.
The acoustic instrument was a part of the roof. So when the wind or something was hitting against it, it would create sounds?
Sound.
Do you think maybe the sounds were healing sounds, like
Exactly.
in India? Yeah?
Exactly.
Healing them when they're in here, so the priests and all the kings were getting the nice frequencies, right?
Exactly.
Wow.
And this is the best for
Okay, so we'll stop right here. That's the top of the pyramid right there. So that slab was actually, there was a roof here. That's the only thing left. The entire roof was covered with those slabs. And this is a wind tunnel. These things are here. Wind goes through it. All of these, and also when it would rain, what would happen? The entire roof would reverberate frequencies. Boom, 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 boom. These steps were where all the people in the elite would sit in order to convene. But what's even crazier is that you can't see this. Okay, but what we found out is the Mayan people were never a people. They were a group of races that became one people after 3,000 years of living together. The Mayans were the Greeks, one of the tribes of Israel from Solomon, the Indians from India, and the Sumerians from Mesopotamia were the key components of the beginning of the Mayan civilization. Right here, you can't see it, but there's a dragon mask from China. Right, that's what I said, China. Dragon mask from China. These are Egyptians right here. On this side, right behind this is a chakra mudra, and then there's another deity in a mudra. There's like 3 different hieroglyphs of people in different Hindu mudras, and on the other side are where the Greeks were represented. So what they would do is they would all get together. They would come here. This is the beginning. In 3000 BC, Palenque was one of the first places. Get together, convene, and the Mayan Empire was a testament of all the greatest world civilizations and wisdom coming together to become the most impactful one ever. So what happened was the Indians donated their information on meditation and yoga, and then the Sumerians dedicated their awareness and their connections to their extraterrestrials, and the Greeks donated their philosophy, and they would come here. And this is where it all happened and where they figured out how to create Mayan civilization. Mayan civilization was destroyed in 2 stages. There was 2 comets. One hit around 700 BC. A comet hit Campeche and Tabasco, Mexico, which is just north of Quintana Roo and Yucatan. That comet completely wiped out all of that civilization in Palenque and everything around. Some people that were tapped into a higher consciousness knew about this and left before. But Yucatan Peninsula wasn't touched by the devastation of the comet. So when the Spanish came and they went to Palenque, when they first found the Mayans, the first thing they discovered was completely evacuated and abandoned communities. The reason why is because over 60% of the Mayan civilization had already been evacuated because of the first impact. And then around a few hundred years later, there was another one. A few hundred years later, there was another one, and then the Yucatan Peninsula had another cataclysm there, and the Yucatan was taken out as well. If you guys have ever listened to anything in regards to the Mayan people and their vanishing, the people say that the Spanish took them out. Not true. People say that they vanished to the fifth dimension. Not true. What happened was, most of them died in this explosion here. The rest of them were in Yucatan Peninsula. Some of them died from disease, and the rest of them are still there. They're still there, and they want the people to know. We go and talk to them, and they're like, dude, we're here. Because, like, seriously, we did a whole interview on them about how they're still there. Because nothing of what we've been told about, like, the Mayans vanished, none of that is true. Like, it all happened in stages, and out of all the people that the Spanish killed through disease, the Mayans got killed the least because they already had evacuated and didn't have as much interaction because of that. So that's that one. Back to the presentation. I apologize for going like lightning speed, guys, but I'm already over my time. That's why.
Not my time.
Okay, so then you have just a couple of other places. We have the Puma Punku H blocks, and the H blocks, the ancient stories are that they were levitated into position. Then we have the Stonehenge. Actually, local legend says that they were also transported by levitation. And if you guys have heard of Coral Castle in Florida, it's this whole entire structure that was created by some guy who claimed to use sound and frequency, and no guy by himself could ever have created that. So sound and frequency using levitation tools everywhere. Yes?
What do you think the reason for the H or the H shape?
Oh, there's so much speculation to that, and no one knows, and all I can do is tell you what everybody else thinks, but I'd rather not, because I don't feel that any of them could be right. Because I know all these people individually and personally, and a lot of times, what I've noticed is because people are really experts in a lot of things, people ask them questions that they have no idea about. So people speculate on things, you know? So I try not to speculate. So I really don't know, I'm sorry. But if you want to look into some information on it, if you want to learn more information about the history of the H blocks and some of the theories, Brian Forrester is the best guy to do it because he lives in Peru and he does this full time. So in County Meath, Ireland, there's a 5,000-year-old structure found to be amplifying the Earth's natural frequency in that area, which is 110 hertz. So in 2012, there was actually a mainstream movement in Vancouver, Canada, called the Archaeoacoustics Convention. The Archaeoacoustics Convention were archaeologists and other individuals into the acoustics, all mainstream, nobody in our community. All mainstream people trying to figure out the resonant sound frequencies of ancient sites. So just listen to what that means. The mainstream knows something is going on between all these ancient sites. They put together a convention in 2012 to be like, what the hell is going on? Let's figure this out. What did they do? They went to County Meath, Ireland. They went there and they tested the frequency of the structure, and the frequency is emanating 110 hertz. So they took it a step further. This is an article on physics.org that is pretty awesome. But they did EEG tests on people in which they hooked them up to 110 hertz. And what happened was areas in their brain that was responsible for creativity and visualization and deep meditation were being stimulated. All these individuals weren't into meditation, metaphysics, or anything. But the type of thing that they would say is, I don't know, this is kind of like meditation if I know what meditation is. And some of them would say, I had an out-of-body sensation at 110 hertz. So this structure has been proven to be emanating a frequency that is actually giving people who aren't even into spirituality out-of-body experiences and claiming it on national TV and national credible articles. So in my opinion, there's countless amounts of evidence from ancient scriptures, scientific evaluation of ancient sites that prove advanced technology. So it's really harder to disprove the ancients had advanced awareness of vibration and frequency than it is to prove it. But it's so funny because we live in such a delusional reality at times that it's really the other way for people. They're like, no, it can't be like that at all. Like, how can you prove it? But to me, from everything that I've even stumbled across, you really can't disprove that this was used with advanced technology. Just for example, the Egyptian pyramid, every stone, every a multiple ton block had to be transported over like, I think it's either 100-mile plus or like tens of miles every 3 seconds to be put into place on the Giza Plateau to be built in the time that they told us it was built. Not possible. So let's get into Pythagoras. We all know Pythagoras, right? The founder of geometry. But guess what? He wasn't into geometry. He was the father of music therapy. Pythagoras Mystery School in the island of Crotona taught the use of the flute and the lyre as the primary healing instruments. With his monochord, Pythagoras was able to unravel the mysteries of musical intervals. And a quote from Pythagoras is, "I want to find the frequency of God." That is his life. But he didn't mean God as in some dude sitting on a throne judging us. He meant a reality, a dimension, a frequency that you can achieve that can be God-like. So what did he do? He founded a school dedicated to this. He went to Egypt for 10 years and he was initiated to, I say many because I don't like to make blanket statements, but most researchers say every mystery school in Egypt he was put into. And he was provided with ancient advanced awareness that was ahead of his time from celestial beings. The commoners in Egypt at that time, 500 BC or something, the commoners in Egypt didn't know what he knew. He was initiated into mystery schools that even the people that were the heads of the mystery schools protecting the awareness weren't even allowed into. But they were told to give him access to it all. So with that, he successfully connected geometry and mathematics to music therapy, thereby founding the entire Western music scale. Pythagoras, if it wasn't for Pythagoras, we wouldn't have sound healing like we have today. He was like, after Egypt devolved 9600 BC onwards, there was a loss of all technology and information and sound frequency connection, completely gone, put into the mystery schools. Pythagoras comes around 500 BC. Pythagoras goes to Egypt, learns all this awareness, resurrects everything. Now, even if you go and get a chakra set tuning forks, go and buy a chakra set tuning forks, look at the frequency, the Pythagorean scale. Every single one of those frequencies are frequencies that Pythagoras actually specified that he got from ancient Egypt. He also theorized that every single planet had a frequency, and each of these planets was vibrating at a frequency, making this sound, and he called this the music of spheres. And guess what? He was right. We can now prove it, and unfortunately I can't show you the videos. But he proved it, and this video is a video of the moon sound, because the dark side of the moon is making this really crazy sound. If you were to go out to the universe right now and you were able just to hang out and chill in the universe, you would be like, oh my god, it's the best orchestra ever, because it's literally a plethora of music and frequency all the time. NASA recorded the moon sounds 30 to 40 years ago. They released it 5 years ago or less.
They just did the same thing for Pluto.
Yes.
I just picked it up a couple weeks ago.
Exactly. So the reason for that is because if we all knew that everything was sound frequency and vibrating all the time, we would have to research it. If we research it, we figure out that we're all quantum beings. We figure out we're all quantum beings, we tap into consciousness. If we tap into consciousness, they lose power. So it's like this whole entire thing of why they don't want to do it. But however, Steven Spielberg had the exact same sounds in his movies right when he came out. But NASA didn't even release it till 20 years later. And Steven Spielberg had the exact sound audio tapes in his movies. That's another presentation. It goes into how Hollywood knows a lot. Okay, so that's Jupiter's sound. You can all find all these on YouTube. Saturn has a sound. You'll find that on YouTube. Pythagoras considered that the music contributed greatly to health. He called his method musical medicine. His followers would sing in unison different chants, and at other times his disciples employed music as medicine with certain melodies composed to cure the passions of the psyche, anger, and aggression. So he wanted to figure out how to use sound tools to cure the craziness that we're experiencing so we can create alignment. Exactly the same reason why spiritual people do sound healing today. He resurrected the sound therapy after thousands of years after Egypt was using it. Okay, I'm not going to do that one. And this is geometry. So what Pythagoras did was he had his monochord and he would have a sand plate too, and he started creating geometries from the sound frequencies. Geometry was actually an accident. What he wanted to do was find the frequency, but what he also found was each frequency had a geometry. And each of those, so he found out that the frequency is what you hear and experience in your body, and the geometry is what you see. The exact same thing. The frequency, like say 432 hertz, has this specific geometry. If you listen to 432 hertz, it has the same effect on you if you look at the geometry that is made from that frequency, the visual component. So when you have sacred geometry around you, tattooed on you, whatever, and you're looking at it, you're basically getting an inaudible frequency that's emanating from the design of the sacred geometry. Here we have.
Probably the same consciousness. That frequency, that regardless
Yeah.
of sound, sight, taste, it's probably the same frequency.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so here's some geometries. Platonic solids. The basic one. Circle goes into the vesica Pisces, goes all the way to the seed of life. The seed of life right here. And then one of my favorite memes ever. So these symbols have been used since antiquity. The most ancient scriptures that we've ever found have had these symbols in it. Native Americans, Chinese had this lion dragon kind of figure with a ball that has this in a 3D format, and that's a pretty famous one. And Indians have it, like ancient India has it outside their doors and stuff. So they had all of this there. But then you look at the universe, same exact thing, but this right here, this is actually a representation of mitosis, of how all cells are divided into creation. So what the ancients knew for tens and tens of hundreds of thousands of years, dating back to whenever they knew how we were created, things that we've only found in the last century. Look, it's the exact same thing. So either they had some advanced microscopes where they could figure it out back then, and that could be true because the Earth has been wiped out many times and all technology has been destroyed and we can't even find the technology they use. But they also had some sort of intuitive knowledge of how we were created and how matter was formed. That's the sand plate one that we're not going to go into. Some more sacred geometry and the Ankh. And I think I need to wrap up because I'm just going to do the Ankh real quick. So here's the Ankh. Anybody have not heard of the Ankh before? Okay.
I don't think I have.
Okay, so this is what the Ankh looks like, and it's an ancient symbol from Egypt. It's actually the symbol of creation. And here's a video that I'm not going to show you, but it's really cool. And in that video, it talks about the history of the Ankh. Basically, the Ankh was the first ever tuning fork. The Ankh was utilized as a vibratory thing that would use your own body as a tuning fork. The Egyptians were really into chakra system, but they're also into sexuality. They use sex and enlightenment like no other. They knew that sexual energy is the same as spiritual energy. They also knew that sexual energy actually can be expelled from you, but if you kept that sexual energy after orgasm, what would happen is it would circulate through your chakra system and you could achieve Kundalini awakenings. So I'm actually explaining verbatim the video right now because it's a cartoon that does this. And they would use the Ankh in order to capture the energy from the chakra system after orgasm, put the energy in there, Ankh it back around and bring it back into your body. They used the body as a tuning fork in order for your body to be able to vibrate at a longer pace, a longer time with specific frequencies by utilizing a tool such as the Ankh. And the Ankh is actually broken down into this. Each letter in the Ankh actually represents a deity. The Ankh isn't how it was actually said. The original word for Ankh, which is something hardly anybody knows, was not Ankh. It was NKH, because guess what? Vowels weren't used in Egypt. So it was Ankh. Ankh. Ankh was brought later after we fell from grace. So A was Amen or Amen Ra, and that represents what is hidden. Hidden, we have A, we have the vowels, you don't use them. What is hidden? N, Nana Nanet, the wave or the watery abyss. K, Kek, which is the god of darkness. A, Eight, He, which is the ruler of infinity. So what the Ankh is actually the most ancient symbol of a code of sounds and primordial deities. It's like the origination of everything. How all these deities came together. It's very interesting because it's all about the Trinity. But the Trinity, we have these three deities that are seen, but we had something behind that was hidden all along. And these three right here, basically the equation goes NKH equals A. And here's the equation. So the equation really is, and ignore E equals mv squared, that's oversimplifying it, but this expression represents a wave, which is N. N is the wave, traveling at infinite speed, which is the H, separating darkness, which is the K, equals a hidden Amen. So the N, the K, and the H equals the A. The N, the K, and the H put together creates the hidden universe, the universe of Amen, this universe. So what the Ankh represents is how these three deities came together to create the Amen universe, which is the universe that Amen Ra overlooks, and that would be us here, the hidden realm.
It's also male, female energy.
Yeah, so the Ankh represents male and female, as we have the cross, which is not like that. The cross is purely male. This represents the masculine and then the feminine. So the wisdom will last for 6,000 years, and then Pythagoras invented the monochord and set the pitch as C equals 256, A equals 432. He resurrected the ability to use the sound tools. What is a tuning fork? I'm not going to show you that. Okay, the didgeridoo. So the didgeridoo now, who doesn't know what a didgeridoo is? Okay, so it originates from Australia. Some say it's over 40,000 years old, and it was traditionally made from eucalyptus tree trunks and limbs hollowed out. The story about the didgeridoo is that when a son, because only certain tribes allow women to use it back in the day, most tribes only allow men to use it. When the man was about to rite a passage, like 13, 14 years old, he would be sent out on a psychedelic drug, psychedelic plant medicine, into the wilderness, say outback of Australia. His whole entire goal and purpose was he was not allowed to return to the community until he found a didgeridoo and brought it back to civilization, and he brought his own didgeridoo. You are not a man until you have your didgeridoo. Thank God for him, it was very easy to find didgeridoos because they're all over the place. However, the original didgeridoo was actually made out of eucalyptus tube that was carved out by termites. No one actually ever made a didgeridoo. All they did was make the mouthpiece. If you went to Australia in the outback, that time you would go there and you would find something like this. There would be stacks of eucalyptus tubes perfectly hollowed out by termites. And this is inside how it looks. Nowadays we can create it up from all types of instruments, and we can actually make any note we want. But the most interesting part of this is every single eucalyptus tube, if I pick that up right now and blew through it, it would be at C sharp. Every single eucalyptus tube, ever since the beginning of didgeridoos until we took it over and tried to make our own thing out of it, was exact same frequency. 40,000 years of didgeridoo creation, eucalyptus tubes, hundreds of thousands of them every single year, right? Let's say 10,000, because I don't know the exact numbers, but a lot of them, all come out with the exact same frequency of C sharp. What's C sharp? The Schumann resonance. What does the Schumann resonance do? There's a book called Earthing. Hook yourself up to the Schumann resonance for 30 minutes, your entire body becomes alkaline. All your blood gets oxygenated. All sickness goes into reversion. So what were they doing? They were creating epic bubbles of alkalinity and C sharp Schumann resonance every single evening when they would play their didgeridoos every single night, creating healing bubbles where they would get into. But the story of the didgeridoo comes from the fact that the eucalyptus tubes didn't exist there until one day, ancient past, when the Aborigines were here on Earth and they were still in communication with their gods. This is their story. The gods will come down and the gods would say, the gods were leaving. This goes through every story in the whole world. The Anunnaki, the gods are leaving. Tower of Babel, need to reach the god. It's the same story. The gods were leaving. The Aborigines were like, we don't want you to go. We need you here. How do we communicate with you? God said, we're going to create this thing with these termites. So first of all, these termites have something in their DNA where every single one of them does the exact same thing and carves things out perfectly to create the same frequency. So they said, we're going to leave this didgeridoo on Earth, and what's going to happen is every time you play it, you're going to create a portal, and the portal is where we can actually come through energetically and we can communicate with you, and you can keep the lines of communication open. So the didgeridoo was actually created originally in order to create wormholes in order for extraterrestrials to come through to communicate with us. The didgeridoo, my favorite instrument.
So if I were to buy one from Australia,
yeah,
it would still have that same.
If you were to buy one that's, okay, so if you were to buy one from Australia, chances are if you went to the store, you'd probably get one somebody created. Yeah. But you could find stores where they have the original ones like this. Yes, you can definitely buy those. But even in Australia, they're using eucalyptus tubes but changing it to different notes. So it's become more of a science now, because like say you want to work on your sacral chakra and you got sexual issues or you have something going on, didgeridoo on D note right to your sacral chakra will blow a lot of things out of you. And one of the testimonials is we had a girl in one of our sound healing classes that was uncomfortable and first time ever having a sound healing. She was like, and I thought she was like not liking it. She leaves afterwards. She calls my friend whose house it's at. She says, what happened? What did I just experience? And he goes, why? And he goes, I haven't had my period for 1 year, and all of a sudden it just started as soon as I left. What happened was we intuitively, or let's just say we accidentally picked up a bunch of tools to go to this guy's house. Guess what we picked up? Only D-note bowls and only D-note chakra forks and only D-note didgeridoo. The whole entire sound healing was sexual healing. I was playing the didgeridoo over her womb. A period started straight away. That's just one out of many testimonials. So these things really blast the energy. Didgeridoo is really good for blasting through energy. Okay, didgeridoo is now made from everything. In many tribes, men played, got that. Solfeggio scale. I think I should stop. I don't know. What do you guys think? Should I go? All right, cool. I'll just let her come and like get like a thing and pull me up. Okay, never mind. Solfeggio scale. So in the Western scale, we have the solfeggio scale, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. I'm sure most of us, all of us have heard of that. So that is what the whole entire Western scale and musical therapy and musical schools teach. This is what is accepted by the mainstream, but the history of this is extremely esoteric. The solfeggio history, the origination of it, went back to a hymn that was given to John the Baptist. The hymn had particularly weird thing that at the beginning of each of the 6 lines, the 2 letters were the letters of the solfeggio scale. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. We've changed it a little bit. It used to be ut, used to be the first one, and there was another one that's a little different. So the first syllable of each line was sung to a note 1 degree higher than the first syllable of the line preceded it. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. Higher and higher and higher, right? This is the hymn. I'm not going to say because I don't know Latin. But this is what it translates to. In order that the servants, us, might resonate the miracles of your creations with loosened, expanded vocal cords, release us from accusation and wash out polluted lips, St. John. So take away the Catholic guilt, right? And then you see what it really means. In order that the servants might resonate the miracles of your creations with loosed and expanded vocal cords, sound. Release us from this accusation, more like release us from this density of this reality, and wash all this crap that we've taken from our polluted lips, St. John. So the above text seems to suggest that solfeggio notes open us to a channel of communication to the divine, which is what all these things were intentionally implanted into us, and just the mainstream has just picked it up, and then the conscious community just forgot about it. And now it's coming back. Here, the solfeggio scale. If you want, as Nikola Tesla said, if you want to know the power of the universe, look into 3, 6, and 9. Solfeggio scales are all over the place. This is how we find the solfeggio scale notes. If you go in the book of Numbers, if you go to the book of Numbers in the Bible, and in the book of Numbers you go to every verse that is talking about a day of creation, right? There's like 20 verses in there. There's 7 talking about each day of creation. You get the Pythagorean method that he actually got from the mystery schools in Egypt, which is an equation. You take the numbers that are in that actual verse, you put it into Pythagorean scale, it equals the frequency. So not only was the Bible created like hardcore genius, but with these frequencies embedded in it for us to discover later. But I forgot the second thing I was going to say, so I forgot that. Okay, so why is this important? So you can utilize, actually I'm making good time, almost done. You can utilize each of these frequencies to target certain ailments. So the solfeggio scale is really good because look at this here. 396 hertz is liberating guilt and fear. And this is almost a scale of spiritual evolution because 936 is actually the last one that I don't have on there, which is the galactic frequency, which is returning to the galactic chakra, because we have 7 chakras in this body, 8 chakra up here, 9th one into the atmosphere of Earth, 10th one into the solar system, 11th one in the galaxy, 13th one lodged into the void in the center of the galaxy. Each of those, as soon as you get out of the 8th chakra, you start having other people that have those chakras with you. When you get to the 9th one, you get to an oversoul chakra where all these people on Earth have the same 9th chakra. You get to the 10th one, you have multiple planets that have the same 10th chakra. You go so on and so forth. You get to the 13th one, the entire galaxy has the same chakra, the 13th chakra. So each of these would actually be able to do it, and it's almost like an evolution. You start by liberating guilt and fear, because without releasing the shame, you really can't go to the next one. And then you go on, you undo situations of facilitating, and then you go to the 852, which is returning to spiritual order. And okay, so now what this really all means. So our true world history, we've been lied to so much. Our history has been written and rewritten and written again by the victors. So much so that even history as far back as World War I and as close as World War I and II, completely fabricated, whereas a lot of things are true, but a lot of different disinformation things were put in there in order to achieve a fascist agenda. Because after World War II and Project Paperclip, and when the Nazis went to Argentina and to the US, and then NASA, which is actually the Nazi space program, and the first head of NASA was actually this guy that was the head of the rocket program, the nuclear program in Germany. And his quote was, when they said, how did you do it when they made the rocket to go to the moon, he goes, we had help from up there. It's Nazi dude, Nazi guy in US. So we've been lied to so much about our history, but the fact is that we've been going through these cycles of consciousness, and archaeology now is starting to prove it. Mainstream archaeology was shunning and discrediting alternative archaeologists that were painting a picture based on evidence they were finding. However, the evidence is now blowing up in their face because there's so much of it. Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, for example, 13,000-year-old structure, advanced technology, can't deny that it was 13,000 years ago. So the alternative movement now is becoming bigger than the mainstream movement. What that means for us is that we're now realizing that our true world history, we've been going through these cycles of consciousness, an evolution of consciousness, a devolution, an evolution, 26,000 year cycles for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of years. This has been going on. Different beings coming and playing the same game over and over and over. This connects to our vibration and frequency. The frequency of the planet, this is a graph right here that kind of explains how we've been doing it. So this isn't good and bad. This is just a negative polarity and a positive polarity and a neutral polarity. This is back in Egypt, 9,600 BC, the constellation of Leo. The Sphinx was facing the constellation of Leo. The frequency of the planet, as we devolve in consciousness, goes to a level where all these different emotions and such as lust, anger, greed are able to exist because we're living at such a dense reality. We have been here for quite some time. We've gone through here 13,000 years, and then we are now just ended the age of Pisces. As we end the age of Pisces, we get to the Christ return, which isn't about a guy called Christ, but the Christ consciousness within, which is the return of the consciousness within us. So now we are there moving into the aquatic age, which is Aquarius. And then we're just going to do it all over again, you know? But some people say that this is the last cycle. But I honestly don't know if that's human arrogance to think that we're the ones that are going to be different, or if it's true. The truth that makes me realize it could be true is that the Earth has been destroyed 4 times in the past, which is why the Hopi says we're going to enter the 5th world, which is why we're going to the 5th dimension. The 4 different times we were destroyed with earth, wind, fire, and water. Guess when water was? Noah's flood. When was Noah's flood? 9,600 BC, when Egypt fell and there was a great deluge. Every ancient tradition talks about the deluge. Noah was real. Sumerian scriptures talk about it. Maybe he wasn't Noah as we know him. Maybe it wasn't an ark, but the flood happened and there was some sort of thing happening on the planet, whether it was extraterrestrials or humanoids that were very advanced at the time. So the 5th stage is ether. Ether doesn't destroy. Ether only ascends. So what we're doing now is we're entering the photon belt in our galaxy. Here's our galaxy, here's the photon belt, here's us going in circles around it. Not only do we go around our galaxy, but we also go in a Fibonacci spiral around our galaxy. But our galaxy is also going around another central sun in the center of our solar system. So what has happened right now is all of those cycles, for the first time ever, have all come to a completion at the same exact time. That is when the ether takes over. The vibration of the planet, I used to think there was going to be a splitting of the worlds. People would be negative in one area, people would be positive in one area. The frequency of the positive group would be so high that we would no longer see the people in the lower group, and then they will be in 4th density negative, we'll be in 4th density. This is all the scriptures and saying all this stuff, and the advanced researchers on this are telling me this. But now I feel that we have no choice but to ascend, because the Earth is in a position where the vibrations are increasing. The chaos we see, the arrogance we see, the hatred we see are only a reflection because the light is so bright that the shadow that is casted is getting even longer. So what happens is in the last moments when the shadow is really long, we have something called the rubber band effect, where the only way to get to the light is to experience duality at the most dualistic phase possible. We cannot go up until we have reached rock bottom, because that's why we came here. That's what the bottom means. So what we have done now is we have reached a level where we're so in the darkness pulling back the rubber band that it's just going to be let go. And when that rubber band lets go, we just fling into the light. So with the technology we have right now and the people we work with, I'm telling you, we work with like people that have left the governments all over the world. I'm in communication with people in government in Chile to get them to release some things about extraterrestrial and have us do an event down there sometime. And this is in the know. People know we have the technology now to live heaven on earth in this moment. But why not? Because of greed and corruption. We have technology to move away from petrol. We have technology to have hardly any diseases on this planet. But why don't we? Because of corruption, because of money, right? And the money was actually invented originally in order to be a form of enslavement. People say it's a tool. It was originally intended not to be a tool. We did not evolve gradually from bartering into money. Money was imposed on us when we had a different society. So the money now, we are now funneling it and using the tools of enslavement, as Michael Tellinger says, in order to achieve liberation. We're now using the tools that they've imposed in order to get that state of consciousness. So I feel that now is the time for all of this to come out, and as long as we keep moving forward and keep spreading this awareness, we're just going to take off into another reality very soon. So thank you, everybody.